I have recently begun to focus considerable pondering on the idea that these all exist as your guru when you're ready for a guru. The works from Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus, etc. That those people would have been gurus in their day, but they left behind their teachings, which means what? This is the surrogate guru. But there's a way to approach it, I think, that makes it kind of fun and it makes it interesting to see what they're doing. And it has to do with a little bit of cause and effect. But what I've realized is that these are answers to questions for a seeker. So the question then becomes, can we reverse engineer that and come up with the questions? And I believe so. And I'm going to kind of work at that a little bit. Hi, my name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel. And let's get started. But first, I need to set it up. Why would we need to go see a guru in the first place? What I want to establish is why we're even going to see a guru to begin with. We need to have our own mental state established. And there could be a variety of reasons. There's people that are just interested in it and they want to go learn things. There are people who have got an issue that they need to resolve, some confusions about life. But there are people at the most extreme, which is where I come into play, that have had, come from very abusive homes and hurt, molestation, rapes, different things that people come from that can be very difficult. And how do we resolve those things? But then we also live life sometimes just not even caring about that stuff. We try to let it go. We compartmentalize it. We live life. We want things. We desire things. At some point in time, some of us in life might get to a point where you think, oh my God, it's not working. What is wrong? I now realize that I'm not going to be here forever. How do I fix my life? How do I make it better? What do I do? How come I can't get a hold of things? And at that moment, we are ready to go seek a guru. That is the mental state that we would probably be in as we're going to approach him. And that's important, or her. And that is important because that's going to establish what the questions are going to be. The answers begin right at that point, where if you were confused and hurt and went to the guru and asked right off the bat, Lao Tzu, old master, my life is a shambles. I don't know how it is this way. I'm born, things are not all right. I'm not happy. What must I do? Please help. And then you're going to get an answer from the old master. And the old master is not going to answer in plain language. He's going to give it to you in a very cryptic way. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Let's go back 2,500 years ago. There is no media. We don't have anything to occupy our time except for what we're thinking about or communicating with or working with at that time. We're not driving cars. We're not commuting. We're not listening to radios. We're not watching television. None of that is happening. We don't read. We don't write. We have stories, we have thoughts. Those are incredibly important. We have to leave our biases and understand how much time they had. Additionally, there's a considerable difference between academic knowledge and experiential knowledge. Academic knowledge means, yeah, I know what that answer is. I know what I'm supposed to do. Experiential means I don't even have to think about it. I'm going to do that thing on autopilot, whatever it is. I don't have to think about it anymore. Think of it this way, just, learning a task at work or something like that, a job or something that you're doing. And at first it seems foreign and you work at it and you keep practicing and practicing. And after a while you do it, you don't even have to look at it anymore. It's happening in the background. What has happened is your brain is actually networked and wired and you become so good at that it is now functioning there. But it happens through constant mental functioning. Okay, and I could probably establish more. I don't want to because it gets too drawn out, but there's a lot of things going on that we're probably not too aware of. But let's just jump into then what this teaching would be. So we've established now that I am ready to go on a hero's journey, or I'm done with my life. I've hit a point where I think that's it. I'm at rock bottom. I'm not doing this anymore. I need a change. I go find the guru and I get up to the mountaintop and ask him, Lao Tzu, master, why is my life messed up? How did I get here? And he answers, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. That means way. The way that can be told is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. All right, then somehow I picture Lao Tzu saying, go, leave, figure that out and come back when you can tell me what that means, I'll tell you the next one. I'm not sure. At any rate, that's it. So we start off, I tell him I'm confused, I'm hurt, I don't know what to do. What makes my life this way? Where do I come from? And he says, the way that can be told is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Now we do something different. We start interpreting these and they reflect in the psyche. They become component parts of us. And I want to make sure to emphasize here that the teaching is completely about me and my life. Any reference in there about the world or anything like that is about my world. The creation of things is the creation of my own life. It's not the creation of the universe. It doesn't go beyond me. So everything that comes out here, even if it sounds like something grand that is universal, that's the carrier shell. The way that it plays out internally, those are analogs you do have your world start. You do create your world. Anyway, so as we play it out, it'll be that way. We want to stay away from this is about you out there, or this is about life over there, or those people, or this situation. It's always about our own personal self. And the easiest way to see that is to just talk through it. So let me go back to this one right here. The way that can be told is not the eternal way. We're talking about, that is a how. The way that can be told, I'm going to tell you the way, how it works. It's not, if I can describe it to you, it's not the right way. I can't tell you how this works. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Whatever this is that is working, I don't know what the name of it is. I'm going to tell you that this is right in the very beginning right here, that this is something that is, I think that we can probably move past this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I do want to say that 2,500 years ago, they didn't know what a brain was, what a subconscious mind was, electrochemical storage, and those sorts of things. Have you ever acted out, just lost it, and later just went, oh my God, how can that happen? How can I act out in such a way? That would be demon possession. We know what that is. They would have no idea. They're looking at things a little bit differently back then than, I mean, this is a part of that, having our biases and going back and trying to understand what they're doing and thinking, I don't get what they're doing, while we're bringing too much with us. We're bringing too much with us. So at any rate, they don't know how or why this works. What we know is that there's a unified field, that there's something cosmic going on, that we have a central nervous system, that we can sense each other in the field, that the brain puts out energy. We can maybe get into that, but that doesn't matter. What he's saying right here, as far as where you come from, there's some source of something that we don't know what it is. And, as far as not naming it, a case could be made. In fact, I've made this point in a previous video where I identified that it was very important to me to identify this as him saying that whatever, that even from on a global scale, if you were looking at religions and called it Hinduism or any religions anywhere, and even though all of those religions contain the template, that to call it something like to say, here's Christianity, here's what we find in Christianity, everybody, it would turn a lot of people off to it. And it would even turn Christians off to it who say, you're not extracting what I want out of there. You can't call it anything. You can't call it, it's in Christianity, but you can't call it Christianity. It's in Judaism, but you can't call it Judaism. It's in Buddhism, but you can't call this Buddhism. All of those are carrier shells, but what is inside of it doesn't have a name. That might be more accurate. Okay, we move on to the next one. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Now, I'm going to speed up being very detailed about these. I've done interpretations of these verses previously, and I've got a lot I want to cover here in a broader sense. So I need to speed things up. Okay, the nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. This is just basically setting up that whatever it is out there is the origin of everything that we're going to be talking about. There's something out there. We don't know what it is. We're not going to give it a name. Everything emerges from it. And here again, I'm going to suggest we can possibly know something that they couldn't. Imagine that you are existing in life and you're looking around the planet. You have no idea how any of it came about. That's their life. They have no idea. They don't know about the universe, expansion, distant universes, stars exploding, things being made, carbon being created from the explosion of supernovas. They don't know any of that stuff that we know today. So they're looking at things that maybe we understand that they simply couldn't have. Let's see what it has. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. So suddenly we've taken this big nameless energy out there, and since we exist, the named, when we name something, and what we're naming is our experiences, these parts are going to fit into something in our psyche that they have to fit. What are we naming in life as you're living life in your psyche? What you're naming is what is, it's all emotional based. What you're naming is what you're deciding on is good, bad, hurtful, hateful, all of those things. That is what you're naming. And those things are experiences, perceptions, things that we've done, shame, things that have been done to us, all the manner of things that we want to hide away. Oh, but also desires that we cling to, anxieties, things that just cause us unrest, fears, the way that we live. If you're living your life thinking, oh, wow, everything is wonderful, that's where you want to be. If you're not there, it will ultimately be due to continued mental processes that are being hung on to and not dealt with, period. Those are the things that are named. We name them through our conscious experience of them and deciding how they're going to continue to reside inside of us. And they become the 10,000 things that are going to become continuous parts of who and what we are until we decide to go on the search. And depending on how far we move along with the Tao Te Ching, what we are also going to find out is that what the nature of this that we're holding up here is creating our flow in the Tao, is creating our way, the way our life flows, who we run into, how we cross paths, all of the things like that are going to be determined by the nature of how we have things hidden and stored away. The stuff that we have named, the 10,000 things that they refer to here. It moves on to ever desireless. One can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. Okay, ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Desireless is a dynamic state of being. When we are desireless at any period of time, we are not mentally holding on to anything. We're not experiencing any of those 10,000 things, and we are just in the moment. At that time, we can see the mystery. The mystery is what emerges out of us, that emerges through us. We can see things that are hidden, that we have hidden inside. We call it a mystery, but what comes out of us is what we can see. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. When those things are playing out, you're going to experience those things. So this lesson here is telling us that if you're not engaged with something, watch what comes out when you're on autopilot. And when you are acting on something, you're going to manifest the completion of whatever that mystery is. This is emerging out of you. Okay, that last verse referred to the mystery and the manifestations, and we move right on to the next one, and it says these two, the mystery and the manifestations, spring from the same source but differ in name. So, yes, everything emerges from universe, from inside. It all comes from the same place. It doesn't matter what it is. I jump ahead sometimes. I'm going to slow down and we'll get caught up. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. There's a portal right here. We are entering in Lao Tzu's work. It appears as darkness, the gate to mystery. There's a gateway we're going into. We're going to transition into the subconscious mind. We're going to turn inward. And darkness, yeah, it's a place we don't understand. Okay, moving on. I figured out from the master that meant that I emerge from anything. I could become anything, and that I become 10,000 things based on naming them. I'm not quite sure what that means. I go back and ask him about it. What does that mean, Master? And he tells me. Verse 2, when people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the sage goes about doing nothing, teaching no talking. The 10,000 things rise and fall without cease. The sage watches them come and watches them go. The sage has but does not possess, acts but doesn't expect. When work is done, the sage forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. Okay, let me just kind of quickly coast through this. When people see some things as beautiful, so what we're seeing here is that as you begin to view things and you judge whether they're good, bad, or pretty ugly, however you cannot view something as pretty unless you have the capacity to understand what ugly is. One cannot exist without the other. Beauty cannot exist without ugliness. That we are starting to see how life happens, how there's a creation of duality that happens. The being and the non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. There's one different in the end there, right there. Look at the before and after follow each other. So we also have a cycle going on right there. So everything balances off of each other, supports each other, is created within itself. It's this roiling mess that continually cycles and cycles, and it's based on the choices that we know. It's based on the manner in which we continue to maintain the state of our mind, how we grasp things, what we hold on to or what we're free of. Therefore, the sage goes about doing nothing, teaching no talking. The 10,000 things will rise and fall without cease. The sage watches them come and watches them go. So in this case, the sage, that's the person on the trek here. We're the one that is making this path, and we're just trying to let things go. The no talking, the doing nothing, that's kind of a let go of the world. Just disconnect from all the things out there that you got wrapped up in there and just don't talk. Let go. And the 10,000 things, they're going to rise, they're going to fall. Don't interact with them. The sage watches them come and watches them go. That is a common teaching where these things that emerge from within us, we see them emerging. We begin at some point to realize, wow, I've got this creature inside of me that acts out. And when you begin to interact with it, one of the things you do is begin to recognize that you don't fight it and you don't follow it. You observe it. And in the manner of observing it as it comes and observing it goes, you very quickly begin to master it. And that is a part of the process here. So we're watching that stuff happen. We're watching it go. The sage has but does not possess, acts but doesn't expect. When work is done, the sage forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. This is really just don't connect with things. You have but don't possess. I might own things, but I'm not attached to things in such a way that they become parts of my identity of who and what I am. They're just things. All right, let me summarize this, and then we're going to move on to a Buddha example. The story starts out with us at wit's end. We're looking for answers. It's 2,500 years ago. We don't know what we know now. But we go to the master and ask them, why? Where do I come from? How is my life this way? And we learn through this questioning that right off the bat that we emerge from the cosmos. It can be anything, good or bad. That what you become is the 10,000 things based on what you named, based on how you classified the experiences. That they exist in a balance of good, bad, up, down, cyclically. Things are going to continue to happen. They emerge, they subside, and that this is a part of what is happening to you. And that's only verse 1 and verse 2. I'm not going to get into the rest of the book. What I wanted to suggest here is that it looks like when you're ready to go on the path, this book is ready to start right off as your guru. All right, let's do the same thing with the Dhammapada. with Buddha, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm at midlife and living in Tibet. I go find the master and ask him, hey, Buddha, please help. Where do I come from? What's life? Why are things messed up the way they are? How can I fix my life? How can I understand it? And he starts right off with, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. In a dichotomy, Buddha starts with twin verses, which also hints towards the idea that there is a balance. There's two sides to everything, and that's what we're going to see emerge into. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him, like a shadow that never leaves him. Okay, we'll look at the first one again. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It's founded on our thoughts. It's made up of our thoughts. We tend to think that just means our active, conscious thinking, which is not enough. They were not on board with the subconscious and what is happening. I don't know. Probably not. What we need to understand is that this isn't about just active thinking. I could sit here and think, oh, I'm happy. I don't know what's happening, but something keeps happening. And if you look, you find out that that something that keeps happening is linked to an unresolved issue in our past. That's why these things continue to happen. The thoughts are not necessarily the conscious, it's happening now thought, but thoughts that have happened at one point in time that got stored away that are continuing to act out cyclically. And how do we know that cyclically is happening? If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, so this is the painful things. Evil, we tend to think of that as I was evil. But if I got molested, that's not evil. I'm not responsible for that. The problem is that when we call it evil and we classify it that way, we don't see that it really is our issue. It is an evil event that we are keeping stored. It's not that we are evil. We are maintaining something that is evil, that within ourselves and that field and everything that's functioning, it continues to act out and it continues to affect our life as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. So here we have a wheel cycling around and around. The pain follows, coming around cyclically to the person that has the evil thought. Here we have something inside that is not okay, that is unresolved. Get away from the term evil. Something that is derogatory, something that we don't want to deal with, something that we've got covered up because we have shame or some kind of something to it that we don't want to let it out, but we know that it's acting out. And you will see that it acts out. Somehow it gets triggered. And we will deny that that's what's happening outwardly, but inwardly, you have to realize that that's what's happening. So there we have it, cyclical life occurrence based on what you have stored in your mind. And in that dichotomy, all that we are is the result of what we have thought, just like before. It's founded on our thoughts. It's made up of our thoughts. However, here's where it changes. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves. Okay, so here we have an example one. Buddha is teaching us that the pain that we hold is going to continue to cycle around and hurt us. However, that if we have purified that, it's not just pure thoughts, it's getting rid of the things that are no longer there. I'm not going deep into this. This is not getting into the healing part. That is going to come about. But for now, what it's teaching is that it is necessary to have a pure thought, an empty mind, devoid of those things that you would hold on to and hide inside. Not devoid of your happiness and your knowledge and all of that stuff. When you're seeking emptiness in the Buddhist tradition, it is not emptiness of brains and ability. It's emptiness of the things that you cling to, that hurt, that make your life hurt. Emptiness from that. Then happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves. So there we have our teaching right from the beginning from Buddha, telling us the same thing that Lao Tzu did, that or maybe not that the origins were there, but that where Lao Tzu is telling us the naming of things is what created them. Buddha's telling us the thinking of them is what's doing it. So Buddha's actually doing it in more plain language, but played out into the psyche, they're both the same thing. They are us naming our experiences or holding on to our pain at that deeper level. Okay, now we are going to, guess what? Let's take a trip 500 years more recent, but still 2,000 years ago. Head to the desert. I'm going to be a shepherd kid. I always like being that little shepherd kid that doesn't know anything. That's where I learned the most. Being that little kid. Okay, so I have grown up and I think my life sucks. I don't know why it is the way it is. And I've heard of a master. I'm going to go find him on the mount someplace, and I'm going to talk to this guru named Jesus. And I search and I find him and I ask him, Jesus, why do I hurt? And he says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now let's just jump right ahead. The kingdom of heaven is analogous to nirvana, the kingdom of heaven within, inner peace, spiritual enlightenment. Get free of whatever haunts you. Nothing is there. That's the kingdom of heaven in this interpretation. Once you take it from the outward to the inward, that's going to be a state of being. Poor in spirit, what is a spirit? They don't know what a brain is. They know things are stored. They know something is in there. And it's something that's acting out. And there's demons in the spirit and there's possession. We're going to go and call that the subconscious. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the people who are devoid of the things that bring them pain. You're looking for emptiness. I ask him, how do I get there? He says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And of course, I got a lot of mourning to do. There's a lot of people I've lost. There's been a lot of hurt, but is that it? Play it out in the psyche. The things we mourn are the things that we hide away. We've got walls up. We don't like to face them, and we don't want anybody else to see them. That is the stuff we have to heal. Mourning it means not just mourning losses or hurts. Sometimes what is in there that is hurt? What if you have been raped repeatedly? What if you were a girl raised in a home where you were constantly molested? How do you deal with that stuff? Those things impact our lives in very derogatory ways based on the way we experience them and the way that we hold them. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. When we don't look at those things, we don't illuminate them, we keep them in the dark, they hurt us. It's painful to surface them and look at them. But in doing so, a healing begins and the pain begins to diminish if you approach it effectively. However, not doing anything means it continues to act out. It's going to continue to act out. We haven't seen that acting out yet in Jesus' work, but it'll appear. Right now, what we're seeing is, number one, you want to have empty spirit by mourning the things that hurt you. Then I'm going to ask him, then what? Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, is what he tells me. The meek, the earth, that's my earth. Meek does not mean being a pushover, but what it means is not being physically, aggressively caught up in the world. We can look at the state of the world now, headlines, news headlines, as well as just what happens when people aren't meek. We got a whole world of people not being meek, and it's going crazy. Meek means getting back, stepping out of it. You cannot live your life happy while you're caught up in that. And we can't resolve it while we're caught up in it. We add to it. We increase its size. I'm going to bring up another Jesus favorite. I'm not going to look it up, but there's a verse that tells you that if you come to the altar and you're going to leave a gift at the altar, and while you're there, you remember that you have aught against your brother, set your gift down, don't give it. Go take care of the ought first, then come back and give the gift. Okay, we play that out in the psyche. If we are going to the altar to give a gift, what we're actually doing is looking for good graces. We want a better life. We're looking to have a better life. Lao Tzu would call it the way, the Tao, the flow of life. However, in Lao Tzu's work, you named something and caused an issue, that there were something that continually emerges, the 10,000 things now that come and go. And in Jesus' work, what he's saying is that if you go resolve this issue first, take care of this, resolve the angst that you have inside, then come back and give your gift, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. You will have a better life experience by resolving your issues, whether you do it as a Taoist or as a Christian. It doesn't matter, but you have to resolve those issues. Do it as a Buddhist. Do it as anything. It's not theism. I'm going to stop there with Jesus, because the point of this was to illustrate this idea that I think I've seen it there maybe a little bit, and I've worked at it, but I'm recognizing now that this is not a hero's journey pattern, but it is that healing pattern. But if you approach this material as if it is the guru, it starts right off where you would start, and it answers only the questions that are applicable to spiritual enlightenment. It won't tell you how to meditate for a bag of money or anything like that. This tells you how to get rid of the impediments instead of ignoring the impediments, saying, so what, that they'll go away. And I thought that was interesting. For the pattern seekers, yeah, I think I want to look more into it. But I've got a lot going on. But I just thought that was an interesting way of looking at the material. If you're going through this, I think, and you're reading it going, what are they getting at? If you approach it thinking, okay, this is my master and I'm asking him questions, and these are going to lead to what I need to know, it might help unlock whatever it takes to come to the understanding of what the teacher nested in the verse. When you have Christian verse with thousands of different interpretations of one verse, something's really wrong. That can't be. Whoever put a message in there didn't put 1,000 messages in. They put one. What is it? How do we get it? All right, well, I'm going to end this video. It was just kind of a fun technical thing, I think, for the seekers again. And love one another, and I'll see you in the next video. As we go on and find that the name,